Welcome to Wisdom Within with Tina and Tonya. Tune in. We have a great episode for you, but I want you to listen up really quickly. I have an important question for you. Have you ever felt like you have been doing the work forever, but you still feel stuck? That is the topic that we're going to be tackling in today's episode. But before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I am Tonya, and I help women break free from constant pressure to give more than they receive. And I help them feel valued and appreciated and to reconnect with their inner wisdom. And I do that using tools like Reiki, human design, the gene keys, and other spiritual practices.
Hi, I'm Tina, and I guide women over 50 to step out of the shadows and into a life where they feel seen, heard, and deeply connected. And we do this through sacred circles, drum making workshops, mindset work. And through this work, we help you to reignite the passion that you thought was lost so you can finally live life on your own terms.
Love it. I love it. I love it. All right, Tina. So, this is a topic that's been coming up for both of us. And I want all of you guys to know that Tina and I are in this cycle right there with you. But we've got some important information that we have learned as a result that we wanted to share with you. So, let's really just kind of get started with why we get stuck in the healing loop. So, Tina, what are your thoughts on why we get stuck there?
Oh, the one thing that
So many thoughts.
it's like we get stuck in this comfort zone, right? We're stuck in this cycle of healing, in this loop of healing, and it's comfortable, and we don't, and it becomes familiar to us. Our minds don't want to let us out of this loop, and it feels safe. And so when we get into this, our minds want to keep us safe. And so that's what happens is sometimes we get stuck in this loop where we're in the comfort zone and we're just staying and we just keep keep doing it, and it becomes almost an identity. So
Mm-hmm. And I feel it becomes a habit a little bit. And what I mean
mhm.
by that is, um, I think it was last week you and I were talking, and I caught myself in this habit way of thinking that I was needing to heal this or needing to work on this. And I realized in that moment, I was on a walk. I think I even messaged you. I can't remember.
Yes. Mhm.
I was like, oh my gosh, that I don't still need to heal this, but this is the habit way of thinking coming up. It's that mindset of I gotta work on it, I gotta work on it, I gotta work on it. And and that's just habit thinking. And it was just such a cool aha moment for myself because I'm in that comfort zone of this. This is what I do for a living is I help others heal. I help myself. I do the work, you do the work. We're in it. And
Mhm.
it's just not only is it comfortable and familiar, but it's created a habit for me too.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think like what you're saying with the identity,
Yeah, it can create our identity, like who we are, you
mhm,
know. So
really becomes part of, and I think recognizing that it when it becomes our identity, then we're looking at it through that lens versus this is just that phase that I'm in. It's a moment.
mhm.
Um,
Right.
and I know for me, because I love shadow work so much, and I really do. I'm not saying that sarcastically. If you guys have been watching any of these, you know I love the deep dive. I
Right.
really genuinely do love
Mhm.
doing that shadow work. And when other people are talking to me, there's this part of me that starts doing this with my fingers. Even if I'm not doing it outwardly, this is what's going on in my energy. And I just want to go, ooh, let's talk about that and let's go there. And so
Mhm.
that is part of who I am. But that can also almost become an addiction where constantly digging into the wounds, processing that trauma, doing the work. And the challenge with that comes with doing the work without actually integrating it. And then we end up in that endless cycle. And I'll tell you, um, it feels shitty. It can, I mean, as much as I love shadow work and as much as I love doing the deep stuff, it comes with challenges, of course. And there's a reason not everybody wants to do it. And I don't believe that it's meant to be done every single day because we get stuck in that and then it becomes almost an addictive pattern to
Mhm.
keep going, keep going, keep going. And then if we're always in that spot, when do we ever get to love life?
Right. And when we're doing this, um, that shadow work, or we're doing this healing, or we're doing all of these processes that we go through as we're trying to heal ourselves, there comes that time when we need to change, right? To be able to, that integration part of it, when we start integrating, then we have to change. And that's what, that kind of can keep us stuck, because we're scared of change. And so many of us, it's hard to change. That's just, it's, I think it's our human nature to resist change. And so we get stuck in that pattern of healing, healing, processing, not integrating, and not taking those um, steps that we need to take for that change. And it's scary. It's scary to have to, all of a sudden, and usually it's not all of a sudden, we're doing all this healing work, and we know deep, our bodies know, our wisdom, our deep wisdom knows that we need to start making changes. But our mind is going to keep us in that safe space that I talked about earlier. Our mind's going to want to keep us in that safe space, because change is, it's different, and it can be scary, and it might be dangerous. And, according to our mind, or our mind thinks, oh, that's no, we got to keep you safe. We're not going to let you go there. So yeah.
And I love what you said, because when we're faced with that requirement of change, right? Like that is what, and that's life, whether we like it or not. The only thing constant is change, right?
Mhm.
But it's so interesting to me because a lot of the clients that I work with, when we first start working together, there's almost this desire or wish for someone else to change to make me feel better, right? So when I heard you saying how challenging it can be to change, how we're afraid to change, we're afraid of what the next step is. Well, if I overcome this block, what do I have to do? Or who do I have to be? Like that's the change. And that makes me feel uncomfortable. So I just need you to change. You
Mhm.
need to fix your shit so that, and then I'll feel better still because you've fixed it. But what I love about that, and my favorite, I don't throw this out, it has to be the right client for me to actually use
Mhm.
this phrase, but it really is, if it's so easy to change, why don't you do it?
Mhm.
Because we want this person to change. We want our parent to change. In fact, I want my mom to change from when she was a child, like that. You know
Yeah,
what I
right.
mean? Like
Yep.
do the work, go do the work, go to therapy, go to energy healing, go do the work, go do your shadow work, do your awareness, do whatever. And I want all of these people in the external to do that. And because I am working on me, I am doing the work. So I want all of them to do the work too. But when it comes right down to change, really what I want is for them to change. But in
Mhm.
reality, the only one that I can work on is me.
Yep.
So for me, it's like as you were describing that and how it's challenging and it's hard to change, it's really about shining that light within us and realizing it takes work. It doesn't have to be hard every single time, but it takes awareness. Like there is some change that we have to create within ourselves. And
Yeah.
so that can also bring in a little bit of compassion for the other because it's not as easy as, well, if you loved me, you would change, right? If you
Right.
loved me, you would do this. And it's like, until we really face ourselves with how
Yeah.
challenging it can be.
Yeah. And that's what kind of keeps us stuck in our healing journey, is that, that not um who, it's like not knowing who I'm going to be when because we want to know all the things. We want to know, we want to have that direct line and direct access to all the knowing. That crystal ball. That's what you always say. I
I
don't
know.
have my crystal ball.
I
And
have
so we
one.
want that.
I
We
have
want
more
that.
than one.
We want that crystal ball to tell us, who am I going to be, and how am I going to look, and how is this going to happen, and how, what do I do, and all that. And and part of the healing journey is That's what the healing journey is about, is helping you to process those things that you're going through or have gone through, those traumas, those, or that you're going through, both, either or, process those things, help your body to release those things, helping you to feel whole again, basically. And then in that process, the change happens. But what we're talking about is how we get stuck in that process because of not wanting to change. But we, if we allow the process to move the way that it's supposed to go, then that's what it's going to look like. And we're going to come out of it a changed person, a different person. And, that's the fun part of doing the work.
Oh, absolutely,
Some,
right? And there are strategies and ways out of that. So we'll get to that.
right.
But first, what are some signs that, if we've got people who are watching who are like, oh, how do I know if I'm stuck in that loop? What are some signs that you have noticed that you may be stuck in that loop or things that you've seen with others?
So
Maybe something you've seen within me because I know I've been there. Just go ahead. I'll be the mirror.
I was going to avoid that one.
It's okay. It's like, well, Tonya, you're in this
I
loop.
was going to let you do that one. Um,
I can do that one too, but go for it.
but I think like you're uncovering new wounds all the time, digging, 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 and you're constantly digging for those new wounds. And that it's that shadow work, digging into the shadow work constantly and not giving yourself time to integrate. And what is integration really, right? Sometimes we don't even know what integration is, and it's like helping you to embody what you have just learned about yourself, or release those things that need to be released and embody that healed version of yourself. And you're not allowing yourself to embody or to integrate that into your life. And so sometimes that's what it can look like, or you're starting to feel drained instead of empowered. Because when we're doing healing work, when we're working on ourselves, and we're trying to release those wounds and let go of the traumas of the past, it's empowering, and it can be very empowering, but it also can be very draining if we stay stuck in that, and we'll find ourselves being drained and find ourselves um being stuck in. And I feel like it kind of spills over into everything in our life when we do that, because we're starting to feel drained because we're constantly doing this work and not integrating. And then we don't have the energy to do all the other things in our life that we want to do. And so it spills over into all aspects of our life. And we have those drained that drained feeling, that feeling of stuckness, that feeling of I don't know which way to go with whatever it is we're trying to build in our life, or whatever it is that we're trying to do in our life. We are stuck. And so we're stuck not only in our healing, it stops us in our life because it moves us. It just spills over into every aspect of our life, I feel like. So
And I know for me, I mean, I resonate with all of those. And I can see even this last chapter that I've been in, I've very much been stuck in that spiral. But one thing that I noticed that is my go to is over consuming. I mean, I read the book, I listen to the podcast, I take the course, I sign up for the next thing. I am constantly seeking knowledge. And it is almost, well, and that is part of who I am. Like that's I love to learn and I love to binge learn and I love to go so deep in these topics. And I mean, I'll do that over history and I'll do that over healing. So it's like I do not discriminate the education that I want to do. But it's one thing to binge a novel, it's one thing to really research and kind of binge some of those other topics that I just really enjoy versus the healing stuff. So when I get into this trying to fix it mode, it's a very different energy than just curiosity. If I come into reading about ancient Egypt, I'm curious. I want to know what they did and how they did it and why they did it. And it's a very fun vibe. But when I'm jumping into the healing type work, it's a very different vibe and I'm working on it. And this can be, and I love this because it could be any topic for people, right? It could be business. Like for you and I, we're working on our businesses. So the healing can even be business type work. We can spin in it in whatever thing that may be. But I end up almost hungry for the next thing because I think this book has my answer. And then I think this course has my answer, and I'll sign up for this person's offer or that person's freebie because somebody's got to have the answer for me. And this is me describing my open ajna in human design. Like, this is just very quintessential shadow side of that, not self theme of that, is just really looking for certainty for the next thing, for those answers, for that structure, for that method. And man, even as I describe it, you can feel how freaking heavy and gross that becomes. And I feel that in my system when I get stuck in that loop. And so that is my biggest aha, is that and all of that, notice, is outward, right? It's the
Mm-hmm.
next person's da 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 da. None of that is pausing. And I'm such a big fan of the power of pause and go within and really sitting with myself, because I do believe that the missing ticket sometimes can come from outside perspective or a book or whatever. But when I lead from my inner wisdom, I find the one book or that
Right.
one quote that changes, and I don't have to get stuck in that cycle.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's tough. It's tough to break out of. But again, it's a habit, right? I'm in the habit of binging that content. And when I can recognize I'm there, then it's like, oh, okay, this is just a habit. I don't still need to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
something I see in myself on a
Right.
regular
That's something
basis.
I've seen in you a time or two. Um, the the other thing that I wanted to bring up too is like we get stuck, sometimes we get stuck in the doing the work, right? So as we're doing the healing work, we're stuck in um only meditating to find the answer, only meditating to heal whatever problem we have going on, only meditating for the change or for the what we think might be the change, right? Or only doing energy work for, and energy work is definitely healing, definitely. But when we have that perspective of only doing it just for that healing all the time, then sometimes we get stuck in that and it's not giving us anything. It's actually taking away from us. We're doing all these things, journaling only to,
Solve a
you
problem,
know, yeah,
to fix me.
to fix, yeah. If we're doing all these things just for walking, my walks, I go walking every morning. If I went walking every day just because I wanted to lose weight or just because I wanted to um, heal something inside me, which that's what it does when I go walking. It's helped me to heal um, it helps me to heal whatever's going on with me for sure. But if I had that intention every time I went out, it gets heavy. It gets like I don't even want to go walk anymore because if I'm walking because I want to lose weight, if I haven't lost a pound in a week, then why bother? Why walk? Or if I'm walking just to heal my mind, my depression, then and one week I find myself starting to spiral a little bit. Why bother walk? You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with meditation. And sometimes meditation can be meditation can be so good for our nervous system, and and it can help us to heal so much, and we can use it in the wrong way. We can use it to keep ourselves stuck in this loop of healing, of constantly trying to fix ourselves. And, in reality, I feel like we are whole. We don't feel whole, right? And that's what we're trying to do with all this healing, is to try to find that wholeness within us. And so, um, yeah, I think that's a big one, is that we get stuck in doing the things just for this, when we can do, because I remember you said something about that maybe last week too, about how you were meditating just to fix whatever.
Mhm.
And when you can meditate and, I'm going to do a meditation just for fun today, or I'm going to meditate to, I don't know, bring in some gratitude. I don't know, whatever. Instead of constantly thinking that's fixing you.
Mhm. I lead a meditation every Thursday, and
Hmm.
it's so fun because, like, everything that we're describing is putting the weight of your transformation, the weight of your healing on whatever the thing is that you're doing. And
Right.
it's heavy and it's gross. This meditation that I lead every Thursday, it's fun. I've got a group of people that show up every Thursday, and I'm a student of the Gene Keys, so we take the Gene Key that we're currently in and we meditate on the gift. And there's no agenda. It is just bringing
Hmm.
that Gene Key here. I do a little thing where I talk about the Gene Key, share about it, and then we go into a meditation and we're visualizing that gift and how it shows up in our life, and we're expanding it. There's no weight on that meditation other than to enjoy. Like, there's no weight. There's not even other than
Hmm.
to, there's just none.
Yeah.
It's, and even for me, because I allow myself to just be present and I allow myself to learn about that key enough that I can share it, which I have done quite well. And then it's fun, it's flow. It's incredible to hear some of the stories from the experience that they have, this, those in the meditation group have, and it's weightless. You can feel it. There's no, we're coming here to fix this thing and we're gonna da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it feels so amazing.
Hmm. Yeah. I love that. And that's, right now I've been doing these meditations about blessing the energy centers. And that's all it is. It's just a blessing of each energy center. And it's not asking for anything. It's not doing anything. It's blessing each energy center. And so you put your focus on one, and then move up, focus on the other. And it's just so, it's light, and it's just so, and you go through it. I mean, it's a 45-minute meditation that feels like, 10 minutes. And so it's just, when we can not put those things on, I guess, that's what that those are some of the things that we end up doing, I think, is when we are um focusing on the healing so much. And the other thing is, um when we have those aha moments, because there's so many times, like, we'll have an oh yeah, I'll get these epiphanies, and then I'm like, I don't shift any behaviors. I don't shift any beliefs. I don't change my reality. I don't do anything about it. I just am like, oh, I got this aha. And then it's like I go back to being in my safe zone and not doing anything, not changing, not doing, making any of the shifts that I know I need to make. So
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the other ones that help us to realize that we're stuck in that loop.
And I think also, if we're stuck in that loop, we don't even notice the aha.
Yeah.
It's there, it's always there. There's always the sign, there's always the synchronicity. But when we're so stuck in the mental loop of the healing, we're not telling the universe that we're looking for a solution. So they're there, they're
Yep.
there, but we have our, like, the blinders on, right? If I'm a horse, I'm a racehorse, and I have the blinders on, the epiphanies are out here, and I'm so tunnel vision
Mhm.
focused on, I need this fixed and I'm doing these things to fix this thing. I'm here and I don't even see them. So I
Yeah.
think when we're stuck in that loop, we, number one, miss them, and then absolutely spot on with what you're saying. Number two is when we do actually see them, we just, oh, look at the pretty bird that just flew by, and we go
Yeah.
back into the craziness of life.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And then the other thing is that you're afraid to move forward. And we talked a little bit about that with fear, with the fear of change. And so, you know, we um, end up falling back into, self sabotage or res- the resistance or the fear. And so we're not wanting to step fully into that. And so now that's another way that we can know that we're stuck in that.
Mm-hmm. I definitely have felt that quite a bit, even
Yeah.
lately. Um,
I have too.
yeah, like
Very
it's just
often.
there. Like I feel it. It's still right there, and it is very much like um, there is resistance to that.
Hmm.
There is self-sabotage. There, it does bring fear. So, um,
And the one thing that I feel like it does too is it's not just in one aspect of our life. Again, it's in all aspects of our life. If we're feeling it over here in our healing journey, it's moved into all aspects of our life. And so pretty soon we're stuck in our business, or we're stuck in our um
health.
whatever, our relationship, our health with some.
Mm-hmm. And as we work on those and create that change, the reverse happens, right? So as we start moving out of that, then life in all those other areas starts to also improve. So
Hmm.
shifting from healing to rising, what are some of your favorite ways of making that shift, or at least thoughts you have
The
around that?
thoughts I have around that. Well, taking that time and realizing that it's going to take time, and reframing your healing as a chapter and not as a lifetime. Because, sometimes, I mean, I feel like healing is something that happens all through our life. We're going to be doing healing all our lives. We always will have some trauma that we need to heal from, I feel like. Um, but we can look at it as this is just a chapter of our life right now. And then we can, work through this, do whatever we need to do to start to move, taking those steps to change and to become that new person. And then, when the next thing comes up, then we do that, but not staying constantly doing it all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and allowing ourselves to integrate and not just process. So when we're allowing ourselves to integrate that healing and actually embody that new person that we're becoming, um, taking the action that we need to take based on what we've learned and what we know needs to happen. Um, Shifting our boundaries, our habits, all those things that we need to do to become that new version of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's some of the things that really can help us to start to move through. I know for me recently, I've been really working on those action steps because I've been in a period of stuck in everything. And the healing was really rough for the past couple of years, and I had some deep shadow work came up, and was stuck in a lot of it, and ended up in a deep depression for, well, I've been in a low grade depression for about 3 years, and then I would say probably the past year I got into a deeper depression, and was stuck in it. And for me, it has taken just finding those little action steps that I can take that's going to help me move out of um, all of that healing work that I've done in the past, and then moving out of all of this, the depression and everything. And it's taking, one thing at a time. Like I started off with walking, and it was like walking was my thing for a while. I had to just walk, and walk and every morning, make sure I went out for my walk and forced myself because it was hard. It was hard to get myself out to do that. And then taking that next action step, which was working on my mindset. And the next one, which is watching what you eat. And then, I just have been building on it. I didn't realize that I was habit stacking until one day I was like, oh, that's what I've done is I started with one, I added another, and that's how you start to move out of that being stuck in the healing process
Mm-hmm.
is by that one step at a time, just one, making sure you're taking those steps because and setting the boundaries and, you know, um, changing the habits. And that's where the magic is in all of it, I think. So,
Well, and I want to point out something really cool that you just said that I picked up on, and that was the way that um, you were talking about going through a period of a low grade depression, and then later you went into a deeper. You did not say I am or I have. And I thought that was really cool because the way that you were talking about it wasn't taking ownership. I hear so many people say, I am depressed. I have depression. This is who I am. No,
mhm,
it's something that you're going through. And so I loved the way
right.
that you worded that because you described this journey of this period that you've been in over a few years as a journey of a period that you've been in over a few years. You weren't describing it as this is who you are or something that you have, which implies taking ownership. And I think people need to realize that the language that we use is so, so powerful. And when we talk about this integration, that's what I see is we've been taught this is not new. We hear people say that all the time. Don't take ownership of the
Hmm.
diagnosis. Don't take ownership
Right.
of the condition. And that can be processing it. And then the integration can be not taking ownership of it, changing the way you speak about it. And so I just loved how, even as you were sharing that, it kind of modeled that. So I was like,
Uh,
oh, I just love it.
oh,
Um, so
I hadn't
yes,
realized it, but yes, I have been working really hard on not um not you know
embracing that.
taking it on, embracing it that is mine because it's something that I deal with here and there.
Yeah. And I love it. That
Yeah.
was, I mean, we do have moments where I am sad or I feel sad,
Hmm.
which is a moment, but
Hmm.
that journey that you described was very much more so empowering. Like you can hear the shift in it. So I thought that was really cool. So,
Oh,
yay.
thank you.
I know for me, and it was really funny because I had to laugh about this because when I look at the season of the year, we've been in winter, which is all about resting, reflection, hibernation. It's the season
Hmm.
of shadow work. And
Yep.
and I feel myself coming into spring now, which is the coming out, the rising, the awakening, all of this. And I just laughed because I have been kind of beating myself up for being stuck in the shadow cycle and the healing cycle. And I'm like, wait, if I'm looking at this season of the year, I've been doing exactly what I'm
Yep.
supposed to be
Yep.
doing. And now it's the allowance of shifting from shadow to empowered work. And so that is one of the shifts that we can have on that rising is really like right now in a topic, when I'm working on a topic, I might look a little bit deeper into the layer of where that's coming from, but that's not the general theme of everything. I might, something might be said that I'm like, ooh, why did that sting? I might look at that a little bit, but I'm not doing the deep work of all things. I'm not looking at like, what's wrong with this whole thing? What's, just that deep shadow work. I've, that gets to be on hold now as we rise into this energy of spring, which is really focusing on what's strong, focusing on what's going right. And yeah, that includes gratitude, but it also includes um when we think about spring and there's still snow on the ground and we have the snow flowers coming up, right? They're kind of crusting through and working their way up. What am I growing?
Hmm.
What's growing within me that I want to strengthen and cultivate? What do I, do I already, because we already have the big oak tree within us that's just waiting for the right time to bloom, right? It's just been dormant for a minute and it's Like we've already built that. That strength is already there. So let's acknowledge that. Let's own that, as well as those little snowflowers that are just starting to come up, that we're just
Mm.
starting to grow, the little seedlings that we've been planting. Like all this stuff is very symbolic for the season of the year in spring, but it's also very helpful to help us shift. And if all we ever do is stay in hibernation and work on the deep, we never actually get to see the fact that we're this giant oak tree with all this knowledge and wisdom and beauty and shade to share with everyone, um, as well as those little seedlings that are just coming up. So it's really about allowing ourselves to shift from the deep work to the empowered work,
Hmm.
really focusing on our strengths, our gifts, and what do I want to build? Like what's something new I want to do? Do I want to start a new hobby? Do I want to spend more time with certain people? What is it that I want to grow? Really
Hmm.
allowing ourselves to shift from what do I need to fix to what would I like to see in my life? And not what do I need to fix to bring it here, but just really focusing on what seeds am I planting and allowing
Right.
ourselves to move in that direction.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
creation energy is really strong and really that's I really like that about feeling changing that from um, the hibernation to creation, basically, to what do I want to bring in. And the other thing is to ask yourself, um, who am I without my wounds? I know I got stuck in that one. I was stuck in that one for a long time. It was like I didn't even I my daughter asked me one time, and I know I've mentioned this on another video, but my daughter and I were having a talk, and she she said, "Mom, you got to let go. You got to let go of those things." And I said, "I don't even know who I am without those wounds, without that trauma in my life. I don't even know who I am." And I've this has been the past couple of years, and I've let go of it, but um, that was a hard one because we tend to hold on to those things a lot, and sometimes we don't know who we are without that, and um, if we can start to ask ourselves, who would I be without that? Or who do I want to be? That's the bigger question is who do I want to be without these traumas in my life? And who do I want to be as I'm healing or as I've healed? Who is this new healed version of myself? How do I want to act? How do I want to see myself? How do I want others to see me? All those questions we can start asking ourselves and start to build on those things and start to visualize what it would look like. And that will help us to start moving through and get us out of that healing, being stuck in that healing loop.
I know at one point I was really focused on what I'd been through. And
Mm-hmm.
so I really resonate with this a lot because it was specifically during my divorce and stuff. That was just a really, really shitty time for me. And lots of trauma came as a result from that. And leading up to, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's all the whole little thing. But I
Right.
was really focusing on the things that I had been through. And I remember wanting to make that shift of, start focusing on who you're becoming. And I was like, I don't even know who I want to become. I don't even know who I'm becoming. I have no idea. Well, because I was saying that, it stopped the creative flow because I was telling my brain, I don't know. And my brain's like, oh, okay, we don't know. We're not
Mm-hmm.
going to look for anything creative. So if you find yourself in that space where you're like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Okay, cool. Recognize that you're doing that, and that is shutting down the knowing because you're speaking out loud. You're casting a spell that I don't know. Okay, cool. Instead, if I use the words, what would I like to see? What if I could just pretend? What would it be? What would it look like? And not fall back into the healing of, well, I don't know. I don't know who I want to become. So therefore, I need to go heal some more so that I can fight. No, 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 no. This is the opposite side of that, where we're allowing play, we're
Mm-hmm.
allowing imagination, we're allowing creativity to let us decide. Like you were saying, like, let's create who we want to become. We, if we don't want to become a past version of ourselves, That's old. That doesn't exist anymore. No matter what that is, we have a whole new version of who we are today. We want to move forward in that way. So it is literally bringing in new ideas, springtime energy, playfulness. I like to say, and what I say to quite a few of my clients, because um, we have a way of shutting ourselves down with that because it's like, well, I can't do that, or I won't be able to, or da 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 da.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, I like to bring to my clients just, you have a magic wand. Wave your magic wand. Was this just for pretend? And when we can bring it with that energy of pretend, there's no failure attached. There's no I can't because. So just allow yourself to be in that energy of play as you really start moving in that direction. I feel like that's a really important one.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. And and just I mean that's the healing journey, right? Is the going through the crap and then moving integrating it all and then becoming a whole different person. And so I love that asking yourselves and being curious. And if you can't if you really can't even envision what it might look like, then look at somebody that outside of yourself. Maybe look at somebody that you admire and be like, maybe I want some traits like that person, or I would like to have, you know, do things like this person or whatever. And think about those types of things. And maybe that will give you start to give you some ideas of how to start envisioning yourself. What, what would um, a person who does this do in a day, and then just write that down and think about those things. Or what would a person that does this in a day do? Just kind of go through that way. If you can't, if it's absolute that you're stuck, then that would be a good way to sit down and just kind of in help you to start envision what it could look like once you come out of this healing journey on the other end. And, most of the time when we come out of these healing journeys, we are a different person.
Mm,
And it's all about who we become. And it's not about the healing itself. It's about who we become at the end of this journey. So
mm-hmm.
that's kind of my take on it anyway.
I do too. And I really feel like it's important to focus on the present in that. I
Hmm.
mean, yes, who am I becoming? Allowing myself to be creative, allowing myself to kind of part that curtain and look into the future slightly with who I want to see myself in 5 years, 10 years,
Hmm.
whatever. But rooted in the present because so much of this work is rooted in the past. And if we're
Hmm.
not careful to stay present with like glimpsing through the curtain to see what we might have in store, we will really have a habit tendency of looking at the past and saying,
Yep.
well, here's all the reasons it won't work. I've already tried all these things. I've done all this stuff. Yeah, that's in the past. And we're so
Hmm.
freaking attached to that crap that we end up, I mean, this is something that I've been going through even the last couple of weeks where I'm so attached to the things that didn't work that I'm unwilling to even try them again in my present because it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me.
Hmm.
And what doesn't work for me was in the past. It didn't work. I have no idea if it will work for me today. I have no idea if it will work for me 10 years from now. I have like there's so much that we need to just keep that door closed to the past. I think that's important too because this work is very beautiful. And when we start dreaming and manifesting, we have a tendency, our brain, just not that anything's broken in our brain, but it's just that's how it's wired is to look
Hmm.
at the past, to make sense of the present, to make sense of the future, to see. And so we've got to really kind of like put that blinder on in the past for real and say, not working on you today.
Yeah.
We already
Yeah.
know, we already lived it, been there, done that. We're not going to forget any of it. I don't need you to remind me. I'm focusing on right now, today, with who I am as a human. Where do I want to go from here?
Yeah.
I feel like that's an important piece as well.
Yeah, I agree. And that's like the Joe Dispenza, that's what he talks about is how we are addicted to those feelings of the past. And that's what causes us a lot of times to stay um in these loops is that addiction to those feelings of the past. And when we stay in that feeling of the past, then we're going to just keep bringing more of that in, and we don't want to do that. So
Hmm.
it's like you said, staying in the present, and with that little glimpse of the future here and there, but always root yourself in the present and focus on what can I do right now? How is this going to look right now? What do I need to be doing right now to make those shifts in my life? So,
Hmm. Love it. I love it. Is there anything else that you want to share? Any final thoughts or anything?
um, no,
No, we're good.
no, I'm good. Yep.
I have one final thought that I would like to share, and
Mm-hmm.
that is healing isn't meant to keep you the same place. It's meant to set you free.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have been doing the healing work for quite some time and you're not feeling free, then that's another sign that you might be stuck in that loop of healing.
Right.
Um, in the Gene Keys, Richard Rudd talks about so in the Gene Keys, there's three levels to every Gene Key. There's a shadow, a gift, and a siddhi. And he even really recommends spending just a short 10 to 20% of your time contemplating the shadow, and the majority of your time should be spent in the gift. And that is a really good reminder that I have to keep for myself, because I do all the things that we've talked about today. But it's really when I swim in the shadow, it keeps me in that same place. It keeps me in that same stuckness. Beautiful, beautiful work, but it's meant to be contemplated for a short time, allowing myself to move toward that freedom. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I really feel like that is the whole purpose of healing, is for
Yeah.
freedom,
Yep. I
our own
agree.
personal freedom, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yes. All right. So we would love it if you would share with us in the comments below, share your biggest takeaway, something that you feel really connected with you, an aha that you had, something that you want to do as a result of watching this video. We would love to hear from you, and we will be interacting with you in the comments as well. And then, as always, please invite others to subscribe, to follow, and all the good things. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Just really help us spread the word. It's awesome for us when we get to see um, and hear from you, and then also get
Yeah.
those reviews of, hey, I shared this with my friend as well. So thank you for that, and please help us spread the word.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, we will see you again soon.